They promised one drop. The blade kept drinking. Cade clenched his jaw and watched his blood crawl across the black stone like a red thread waking up a sleeping maze. The crowd on the ascension steps leaned in as one body. The anthem hummed from iron horns above the plaza, calm, steady. The same key it used for every foreigner who failed. He couldn't fail. Not again. Not after the border camp. Not after leaving Lena behind the fence with a promise he'd bring her home. Name? The archivist said. His robe was ash-gray, his eyes hard as chipped glass. Cade of the Dust Belt, he said. I claim the challenge. The old rules were carved into the stone lip of the bowl. Bleed true. Breathe the anthem. Neither lie nor cry. The city kept rules older than the river. Older than any crown. If the anthem shifted its key, the horns would speak the words that changed a life. He belongs. Cade forced his palm lower. The cut burned. The bowl drank. The crowd whispered, he's too thin. He's older than most. Dust people always run. He didn't run. He stared at his own blood as it threaded the maze. It found a corner and paused like it had hit a wall. His pulse pounded loud enough to shake his ribs. The iron horns breathed on. The key stayed the same. The stone stayed thirsty. Cade remembered Lena's small hand pushing an apple toward him. For luck, she'd said, trying to smile. He'd pretended not to see her fear. Breathe, the archivist said, voice low. If you lie, the stone knows. If you weep, it breaks you. Cade inhaled the cold. The plaza smelled like wet metal and rain. He tasted dust. He watched his breath cloud the air above the bowl. The blood moved again, following a hairline groove he hadn't noticed. The maze curved toward the center. A hidden glyph began to show through the smear. His skin prickled. Under his breath he asked the stone, how much more? The stone answered with silence and pull. He cut deeper. A hiss ran through the crowd. Even the archivist flinched. The anthem wavered. It was small, like a tremor under a door. Cade had listened to that song all week from the lower alleys, learning the shape of it, the rise and fall, the patient, proud notes. Now something bent inside it, a shadow tone threading through. His breath caught. The horns did not change key. Not yet. They shivered. The blood found the maze's heart and pooled there. The glyph completed itself and glowed, a dull ember at first, then brighter, the way dawn leaks into a room. The black stone turned red from within. The plaza fell quiet. Enough, the archivist said, but there was fear in his voice. Cade didn't lift his hand. It wasn't will anymore. The stone held him. The heat of it ran up his arm like a chain. He thought of Lena again. If I belong, he whispered in his head, she belongs. The anthem broke. Mid-note, the key shifted up and set every tooth in the plaza on edge. The iron horns boomed in a voice no one alive had heard. Words rolled out, old as winter. He belongs. The first cheer died fast. The second voice inside the horn spoke over it, deeper, older, carrying dust and thunder. He is claimed. The crowd didn't know what to do with that. Neither did Cade. His vision swam. The archivist stumbled back like the stone had hit him. His gray robe split at the shoulder, and a mark glowed through, an old sigil, same as Cade's maze. Burned into human skin long ago, doll around the steps. Others gasped. Old scars woke. People stared at their own hands and wrists and ankles where forgotten brands flared red. The city wasn't only accepting. It was calling debts. Cade swayed. The stone let go. He pulled his hand free. The cut had sealed without a scar. He looked up at the horns. The wind carried a low hum that felt like a heartbeat. Not his. Not the crowd's, the city's. A guard pushed through, spear across her back, dark hair braided tight. She had been the one at the gate when he first came. She had watched him sleep on cold steps. She held his gaze now, and her eyes said, run? Her mouth said, with me, is it done? He asked. She didn't answer. She grabbed his wrist and dragged him down a service stair. Stone walls sweated around them. The hum followed, through pipes and grates, a voice traveling in iron. What does claimed mean? Cade said. His voice shook. He hated it. Old law, she said. Older than crowns. Older than our flag. We forgot it on purpose. She glanced back. My name is Nira, remember it if you live. He almost laughed. Not the welcome I hoped for, the welcome you got. She shoved open a door into a chamber under the plaza. The ceiling was a web of pipes. At the center stood a ring of the same black stone. A pool sat inside the ring, still and black. The hum was louder here. Cade's bones buzzed. I should put you in chains, Nira said. That would be safer for me. For you? He said. I just bled myself to join. She looked at his bandaged hand. You didn't join. It joined you. He stared at her. Listen, she said, voice tight. A stranger who shifts the anthem only kings did that. Long ago, the city swore not to crown blood again. The last time it did, our walls walked and the river burned. There's a saying in the barracks, when a stranger sings in iron, gates learn to move. That's not a saying, he muttered. That's a threat, it's a warning. She pointed at the pool. Don't touch that. The ring reads lineages. If it sees the wrong thing, it opens what shouldn't open. He took a step toward it anyway. The black water mirrored the pipes, his face, his fear. He could almost see Lena, thin and fierce, eyes too big for her face. He wanted to reach through stone and wire and pull her into a room with warm bread and safety dot above them. The horns boomed. Another key change. Minor now, dark. The old voice spoke again. Sovereign host detected. Nira swore under her breath. It called you that? I asked for a door, Cade whispered, not sure if he was confessing or praying. The pool stirred without wind. Rings spread across the surface. The hum rose into a chord that made Cade's knees soften. The black water thinned to gray, then to silver. He could see a road on the other side, pale and flat, with shadows moving on it that didn't look like men. Nira yanked him back from the ring. I told you not to. The silver split open like an eye. Cold rushed through. Cade heard footsteps, soft and many. He saw hands, white as bone, grip the lip of the pool from the other side. He smelled frost and salt. Close it, Nira hissed. Tell it to close. Cade tried. His mouth was dry. The hum answered him instead, wrapping his words, twisting them. The horns above took up his voice and carried it across the city. He felt the city's will leaning on his. He felt it ask a question without words. Will you carry us? He thought of Lena, of the apple, of the promise. He thought of the border guard's laughter. He thought of all the doors that had been closed to him since birth. Yes, he said, barely sound, but the ring heard it like thunder. The pool widened. Pale shapes climbed through tall, thin, faces veiled with glass. One lifted its head. Something like a smile cracked the glass from within. It spoke in the same old voice as the horns. We have been waiting, Cade. Nira pressed a blade to his back. Not hard, just enough that he felt the steel. Whatever you are, she whispered, you run when I tell you. Not a heartbeat sooner. The pale figures turned their glass faces toward the blade. The closest one tilted its head like it was curious about the idea of knives. Cade swallowed. One question, he said to Nira, without looking away from the things, from the door, from the life he had just split open. If I belong. Who belongs to me? No one answered. The anthem rose for war. Want the next beat of this story? Tap follow now so you don't miss part 2.